Hey everybody, welcome to the Southern Utah Online Locals #1 tournament report. So this is the report for the entire tournament as well as all the deck lists. So the first thing that you're seeing on the screen right now is the first place deck list. This is the deck that I played, which is the Imperion Magnum Turbo deck. That's what I have dubbed it. And the entire focus is playing Imperion Magnum, the superconductive battle bot, and hoping your opponent doesn't have an out to it. So this card is a card that reads once per turn. Well, its materials are Valkyrian and Berserkion, which are these two cards right here. And its effect is once per turn during either player's turn. When your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And then if this card leaves the field, if in its owner's control leaves the field, due to a card effect, specifically a card effect, not by battle, you can special summon a Valkyrian and a Berserkion from your hand or deck, ignoring summoning conditions. But typically the battle thing doesn't come up because he's huge, so your opponent has to clear it by a card effect, typically anyways. So, moving on into the deck list, we do play a little bit of a invoked engine just to search for invocation, which could act as a substitute for polymerization. And if it doesn't, then you can just make a Makaba, which is a free negate anyways. And then the next turn you can follow up with a Purgatrio. So that's really nice. So 3 copies of Alistair the Invoker, 3 copies of Berserkion, and 3 copies of Valkyrion. Obviously, these cards are like fantastic. These are, well, I mean, they're not fantastic cards on their own, obviously, but they're fantastic in the regards to summoning the Imperion, the battle bot. So King of the Swamp to act as a substitute for polymerization or a substitute for Berserkion and Valkyrion. This card is insane in this deck, just being able to be literally anything you want. So, yeah. The Earth Hex Sealed Fusion, this is pretty much the 40th card in the deck. Just being able to substitute for anything is pretty nice. And it is a rock monster and an earth monster, which is important for its own effect, I guess, because you can summon an Earth Fusion from your extra deck. But there's only one target that you can summon with this, which is obviously your BattleBot. If you happen to, if they happen to clear your BattleBot and you summon a Valkyrian or Berserkion, you can normal summon this and then turn them both into another BattleBot, which didn't come up ever, but it's possible that it does. So, I mean, worst case scenario, it's 1,000 bead stick, which is pretty bad, but yeah. And then the other one that we play is Versago the Destroyer. So the important part with this card is that it is a fiend type monster. There's another one, I believe it's like a witch or something, that has 1200 attack, versus this one that only has 1100. And the reason that you play this is specifically because it is a fiend monster. And the reason that it is a fiend monster, like the reason why it's important that it's a fiend monster, is because of this next card in the list, Dark Calling. So this is more of a meme card than it is anything. Realistically, I wouldn't play this moving forward. I would probably take this out and play something better, maybe a hand trap or something, or even just like more ways to search for poly, possibly. Like, it's just whatever. This card is just honestly a pretty garbage card. Like, I never once activated it. I never once resolved it. It was pretty bad, but the idea is that you can summon Evil Hero Dark Gaia by fusing a Fiend type monster and a Rock type monster, and your Fiend type monsters can be your Purgatrio, your Nightmares, any of your Nightmares, or it can be your Versago the Destroyer. So there's plenty of ways to get the Fiend type monsters to the graveyard, and you play everything in your deck as a Rock type. Berserkion, Valkyrion's a Rock, BattleBot's a Rock, so if this guy dies, you can fuse it with Versago, and you'll just have a 5100 attack beat stick. That's just huge. And that's kind of cool. I mean, it's a cool thing. It's kind of funny to see this card in a topping deck profile, but it's not... It wasn't the main reason why this deck topped, obviously. Then we play 3 copies of Fusion Conscription, which just is 3 more copies of Valkyrian or Berserkion, just whichever one you're missing. And then 2 Invocation, which can be searched by Alistair, obviously. 3 copies of Meltdown, technically 4 if you count the terraforming, so you're playing, I think, like 15 ways to get to poly, because you're playing terraforming, Meltdown, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7 being the Alistair, 8, 9 being the Evocation, and then 12 being the 3 copies of Polymerization, which is the next card in the list, and then the King of the Swamp, which is 15 to get to the Polymerization. So you're playing 15 ways to get to poly, and you don't even use, they have dual uses, right? Like, the Alistair can double as a Macabre, which is a negate. It can double as a poly. It can also be, like it can be a negate or a poly or a pierce. Meltdown is the same thing as Alistair. Terraforming is the same thing as Alistair. And King of the Swamp can be either a fusion material or it can be a polymerization. So you have very flexible different things that you can do with this deck. And then 3 copies of Pot of Desires. We need the draw power. The only thing that it conflicts with is the Trap Trick, which if you banish 2 copies of your Necrofusion, it really sucks, but we'll get to that in a second. 1 copy of Upstart Goblin, obviously for consistency, might as well. 3 copies of Necrofusion. This card's fantastic. If you fuse any of your materials, like if you fuse Valkyria and Versago, then you get a battle bot, and then you set the Necrofusion, you set it, and then like next turn you just flip it, banish these 2 face down, and then special another battle bot. So you have 2 battle bots on field that your opponent has to deal with, which is like fantastic. And so we want to get that like really nice. So we max it out with 3 copies of Trap Trick to get into the Necrofusion as well. So I mean, it's a pretty garbage deck, but it definitely has a use. And I think that if there was a different way to build this deck, obviously you would take out the 2 copies of Dark Calling, but I think like those are more of a meme card in an already meme deck. So I mean, I guess you could just take it out and try something different. But yeah, maybe play like Link Spiders in the extra deck because dinosaurs are like a thing. Moving on into the side deck, we play 3 copies of Phantasme as well as 3 copies of Nibiru. So the idea behind this is that Nibiru, you only play 3 copies, but if you play Phantasme, you're technically playing 6. Not really, actually. But it's just, Phantasme can draw you into Nibiru, which is like the main reason. So that's why I'm playing the Phantasme. It's just like, if my opponent's playing Dragon Link, I can Phantasme on their Link Summon, draw into a Nibiru, hopefully, and then Nibiru them. That's the idea if I don't draw them Nibiru in my opening hand, like anyway. So that was the idea behind the Phantasme and the Nibiru. Moving on, we have 3 copies of Lightning Storm. Just blow out your opponent if they're playing back row. Same thing with the evenly matched. So these pretty much have the same purpose. And then the Appointed of the Red Lotus is here because you can set it off Trap Trick, which is really cool because it is a normal trap card. And you can also take a look at your opponent's hand and then say, Dark Ruler no more, bye-bye. Kaiju, bye-bye. Get rid of those. Get rid of those cards out of your opponent's hand, and then what are they going to do with your battle bot? They can't clear your battle bot. You're just going to win the game. So that's the idea behind this side deck. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, honestly. Moving on into the extra deck, we play 2 copies of Evil Hero Dark Haya, which should honestly just be 1 if I'm playing the Dark Calling package. But realistically, moving forward, I'm just going to cut this from my list. But it is really interesting to see it in a topping deck list, or topping in quotes, because this is technically a local. So, yeah. 3 copies of BattleBot. Technically, you only need 2, but you might as well play 3. Your extra deck's pretty loose. 1 Kaliga, never came up. 1 Macabre, really good, just a free negate. Purgatrio, fantastic, just pierce, ends games. Dingirsu, so the reason I played Dingirsu is because Valkyrion and Berserkion are both level 8. So, if your BattleBot gets outed, you summon the Valkyrion and the Berserkion, and then if you need to get rid of a threat, you can just put a Dingirsu on the field, so that's pretty nice. 1 Nightmare Phoenix, get rid of back row. 1 Nightmare Unicorn, whatever. This will never come up, honestly. The Phoenix came up, I think, like once, maybe. I'm not sure. I honestly forgot. Pentastag is in this list because you could, like, potentially, like, if your opponent's just, like, setting walls, like, just, like, 2,000 defense walls, you can just make Pentastag and then just your BattleBot pierces because of Pentastag's effect. It doesn't come up. It never came up, but it's in there. 2 copies of Elmirage and 1 copy of Secure Guard now. So the second Elmirage came up enough that I wanted to play it just because, I don't know, it just came up. It was really random. And yeah, then the Secure Guard now to make Macabre. And that's it for this deck list. Got first place. Pretty happy with it, honestly. Obviously, I changed the Dark Callings like I'd said before. But yeah, that's it. Moving on into the second place deck list. This needs some changes to it because I worked on this list with my nephew who played this deck in the tournament. So, yeah, but let's go through it anyways. So He plays a pretty big hand trap lineup: 3 copies of Ash, 2 copies of DD Crow, 3 copies of Nibiru, and the 3 copies of Impermanence. So 11 hand traps, I think that is. Pretty crazy, honestly. And then we play 3 copies of Winder, and then the 3 copies of, I think there's 11 zoos, or 10 zoos, and then like the tanky. So 3 Ram, 1 Rapier, 3 Thoro, 3 Whiptail, and then that's it. And then like the 3 tanky to search for everything, and the Call by the Graves to stop your opponent's hand traps too. 1 copy of Monster Reborn, 3 copies of Avarice, and 2 copies of Desires. So originally, we were playing 3 copies of Desires, but we cut one of them for an Upstart Goblin. Mostly just from like his idea. He didn't want to draw multiple Desires, which is fair. Activating Desires multiple times in a duel, especially like in this deck, I guess he just didn't want to banish his zoos. Because like if you're out Whiptails, you kind of can't really out a lot of stuff, which I understand. So that was definitely his thought process there. And Upstart Goblin's just a free space, so why not? 1 copy of Barrage. We wish this card was at 3. Come on, Konami, why you gotta limit it? 1 copy of Retrograde and 1 copy of Zoodiac combo. Zoodiac combo didn't come up, and originally this was Bezel Ship, and like the Time Thief Bezel Ship, because if you drew Retrograde, you can search Bezel Ship instead off of Winder. Didn't come up though. And I don't think either of them would have come up, so I don't think it really mattered in the long run. Moving on into the side deck, he played 2 copies of Phantasme, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre. So pretty much you can switch these out for the DD Crows if you don't really need them, I guess. 3 copies of Retaliating Sea. He mostly played this against my deck, which is fair. Just being able to banish my stuff is kind of nice, so I can't use my Necrofusion. DD Crow to hit the stuff out of my graveyard as well, but yeah. 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Get rid of Mystic Mine. Buy Mystic Mine. If someone happened to randomly play it in the off chance, we just get rid of it. 3 copies of Lightning Storm. Back row decks. 3 copies of Evenly Matched. Back row decks. And then moving on into the side, or the extra deck, he played 1 copy of Dweller, which he never summoned. 1 copy of Utopic Future, which he never summoned. Redoer, which was fantastic. Borbo, which he probably should have played more copies of, because I felt like he went into this way more than he needed. But the one was necessary. Like, it was necessary when it came up, but it wasn't like super impactful if he didn't have it. Plus, like, most of the time he'd shuffle it back with Avarice, or he never shuffled it back with Zoodiac combo, but it could have came up, which I guess is like worth noting. 3 copies of Chakanine, fantastic card. 1 copy of Dryden, fantastic card. Hammer Kong, just because it's a free material, and it's differently named from Borbo, so you might as well play 1. And 2 copies of Tiger Mortar, just fantastic card, being able to switch your materials for free. And, just off of a normal summon, if you have a Whiptail or a Thoroughblade Engrave, you can either summon either or, and then you get a 2800 attack beat stick that can pierce and banish, so that's pretty cool. Megaclops, because fantastic card. This card's unaffected by pretty much everything. He only summoned 1, so I don't think the second one was necessary, but it is in the extra deck in the off chance that it does come up. 1 copy of Phoenix as well as 1 copy of Unicorn. And yeah, maybe there is like argument to play different zoo, or not different zoos, but more copies of like Borbo, or more copies of Tiger, or like different rank 4s instead of the Megaclops, or instead of the Dweller, or instead of the Utopic Future. But honestly, I don't think it was super necessary. I think the list did well enough, and pretty much like Tenki just turned into a Megaclops, and then you win the game. So that was the idea, and it seemed to work pretty well. Moving on into the 3rd place list, this is the list that my cousin played. Quaid, he played the Metalfoes deck, and a little bit of some spicy takes in forms of the Impus Actor engine being Wild Hope. When Wild Hope dies, you search for Curtain Razor. It's pretty cool. It's just a free +1 that you can get off of your Metalfoes cards. Yeah, I mean, it's not like super great, but it's still cool, so I think that's really nice. And then obviously he plays tons of Metalfoes cards. In fact, is this... Okay, yep. Rescue Hamster and Rescue Rabbit. just the rescue cards are, these cards are great. Just be able to, tutor out all of your Metalfoes cards. Tour Guide, because you can summon Hollow Hollow. It's a 1-card Needle Fiber or Halki Fibrax. That's pretty nice. It's also a 1-card Dante. But obviously he didn't play that, but everyone knows that. He played 3 copies of every Metalfoes card, so he played 3 Gold Driver, 3 Silvered, 3 Steelin, 3 Volflame, 3 Bismugear, and then obviously the 3 summoners are to search for the Volflame. Or you can search for the Cleafort Scout. And Cleafort Scout, you pay 8 and you can search any Clee card, which is Monolith. So typically the combo is to scale your Scout, pay 8, scale any Metalfoes card, pop the Scout, and then you have a Monolith in hand and a scale or a Scout in your extra deck, and then you Pendulum for 2 with your Scout and your Monolith, and then you make Infinity. So that's pretty much the combo. For Metalfoes cards, he played 1 copy of Metalfoes Fusion, as well as 1 copy of Full Metalfoes Fusion, and 1 copy of Combination. And the last card in his deck was a Painful Decision, which can search any of the lower ones. He can search Gold Driver, Silver, Steelin, or I guess that's it. Oh, technically you can search Hollow Hollow too, which is kind of cool, but yep. Moving on into the side deck, he played 1 copy of Cyberstein with the Exterior that you can summon off of it. I don't know why he played it. I didn't see it come down once, but it's really interesting. 3 copies of Denko Seka, just no back row, no bye-bye. 3 copies of Retaliating Sea, just to, if, I guess this is for more Shadal, you can just get rid of them. 3 copies of Cosmic for Mystic Mine, I assume. 3 copies of Lightning Storm for back row, or just, it's a fantastic card. And then 1 copy of Red Reboot. Moving on into his extra deck, which I think is, pretty solid, honestly. He played 1 copy of Alcahest, which can equip anything. It's like a Thousand Eyes Restrict, but you can activate it during either player's turn, which is pretty cool. 3 copies of Mithrilium. Honestly, I think he only needed 2, because you can shuffle back Mithrilium with Mithrilium's effects, so I don't know. He did play 3, though, which is, alright. It's understandable, I guess. 1 copy of Oriacal. Fantastic card. This double pierces? What? What card double pierces in this game, outside of Chaos Max? This card. It's fantastic. 1 copy of Desert Locusts. You can summon this off of Halki Fibrax, and it's just a free get something out of your hand. So it's pretty cool. 1 Dawn if I can speak. 1 Dawn Dragster, which you could summon with Hollow Hollow, as well as any level 4, which is your Abyss Actor Engine, or your Gold Driver, or your Rescue Hamster, or your Rescue Rabbit. You have lots of options to make the Dawn Dragster, so it's a pretty good card. 1 copy of Infinity, as well as the Nova to go with it. Just negate anything. It's really nice. He played Chakanine as well as Trident, because you can overlay Chakanine using any 2 level 4s, and then you can put the Trident on top of that. So you have a free pop during your opponent's turn, which if you saw it during the feature match round number 3, he did use this. He ended with Infinity as well as Trident, so he could pop something and he can negate something, which is really cool. But yeah, you'll have to go check that in the feature matches that I hopefully will be in the description. 1 copy of Boral Sword. Yeah. 1 copy of Krashi. Yep. 1 copy of Halki Fibrax. Yep. These 3 are just fantastic cards, and I don't see why not to play them. And then 1 copy of Link Spiders. So this is a really interesting pick, but if you happen to draw your Hollow Hollow and you have no way to get to another one, pretty much, it turns your... And then you have, all your rest of your deck is your normal monsters, right? So you can just normal Gold Driver, Silvered, or Steelin, link them off for Link Spider, and use Link Spider as a special Hollow Hollow. Then you can turn everything, the Link Spider and the Hollow Hollow, into Halki Fibrax. So it's like a 2-card Halki Fibrax if you play the Link Spider in your extra deck. So it's pretty nice. Also, if you happen to have Rescue Rabbit and you drew 2 Hollow Hollow, you can Rescue Rabbit into 2 Metalfoes, make a Halki Fibrax. And he didn't play it, but you can make Appaloosa there, because then you can Halki Fibrax summon the Hollow Hollow, and then you can link the whatever Metalfoes it was, Halki Fibrax and Hollow Hollow into a Appaloosa. But he didn't play it, unfortunately. But it is a 1-card Appaloosa if you do it that way, which is really interesting. But mostly he used the Halki Firebacks. He just kept it on the field and then turned it into a Desert Locust, so he got a free +1, which is pretty cool. So, yep. And then the fourth and final deck, fourth place, is David's Dinosaur deck. So I think this deck has a couple glaring issues. Obviously, I think that Desires... this is based off of my version when I couldn't afford Pot of Extravagances, so I sent him a list over similar to this. Honestly, the Scapegoat probably shouldn't be in this list. The Pot of Desire should probably be Pot of Extravagances, 3 of them, obviously. And I think that the double evolution pills and the cult list should probably be cut from this list, as well as like the Judgment. The Judgment's so like random in this list. Just to like buff consistency in this deck. I don't think that those cards are like super necessary. Other than that, I think the deck is like pretty solid. Like the Ashes are, pretty good hand trap, so you might as well play them. Plus it's a fire, so you can hit it with the True King. So, I mean, there's lots of things you can do there. It's really odd to play 2 copies of the True King and then the 2 Desires. Like, I think you'd, like, want to max out on the True King if you're playing Desires, but, yeah. And, I don't know, other than that, it's, like, pretty standard Dinosaur stuff. 3 copies of Nibiru, 2 copies of Lightning Storm, 3 copies of Evenly, 2 Infinite Impermanence, 2 Judgment, 2 Strike, 1 Warning. So I think that's like counter trap lineup's also a little odd. Maybe it should be something else, but I'm not exactly 100% on what it should be. Maybe Retaliating Seas, like assuming that you're playing against Shadalls. Obviously, I think you just kind of have to figure out what your meta is playing and then counter it. Moving on to the extra deck, this I think should definitely be changed because of extravagances. But we're going to go through it anyway, so... 1 Chambara, 1 Trishula, 1 Dweller, 1 Dolka, 1 Lagia, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Calamities, 1 Ausa, 1 Boral Sword, 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, 1 Unicorn, 1 Link Haribo, 1 Pentastag, and 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice. So, honestly, like, this list isn't terrible, obviously. Like, it's functional, which I think is, like, a thing, but I just don't think it's optimal, so... Yeah, and the Mystic Mine did come in clutch, I think, like, game 1 or something, against, like, the Zoodiac, but, if I do recall right, like, Dryden can just chain to pop it, so I don't think it, like, really mattered in that matchup, but I think it was, like, a force, like, it forced the Dryden out, which I think was, like, important, so, yeah. With all of that said, that is going to conclude the deck lists of the Southern Utah Online Locals #1, and hopefully I will be doing another one very, very soon, and I will get more feature matches to you guys. And yeah, with all of that said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.